My name's John Blackmore. I'm Chief Executive of Action Acton, and my role is to work with the board to make Action Acton a sustainable organisation so that we can effectively deliver our mission of promoting community and economic regeneration in disadvantaged communities. We started 10 years ago in partnership with the community and in partnership with local groups and organisations. Action Acton decided to work with offenders because a key part of our mission is to work with disadvantaged individuals in the community, and offenders experience additional disadvantages to many of the other people we work with because of their criminal record. Many of the offenders we work with have no educational skills or qualifications. There wasn't a lot of work going on in terms of providing employment support for offenders, and we found through doing that not only can we benefit the individual offender, but we can also benefit the local community because the offenders live in the local community. Through providing them with a future in terms of employment, that helps make a safer community.
My name's Michael Finn. I came to Action Acton about a year ago. My last probation officer suggested them to me as I was coming to the end of my parole term. I'd been having trouble finding employment, so I went in, spoke to them, registered and ended up getting put under the supervision of Nikki.
My name is Nikki Robertson-Peake and I'm a project manager for Action Acton, and one of the projects I work on is the Offender Project with prolific and priority offenders. Action Acton offers kind of intensive support to help offenders and ex-offenders find employment training or education, and that ranges from the basic employability skills up to liaising with employers to particularly source vacancies for offenders.
The main help that Action Acton's given me is motivation and encouragement. It's difficult sometimes when you're going so long without employment and so long without a reply from job applications.
Initially, Action Acton was involved with the ESF Exodus pilot project, working with offenders, and this kind of really highlighted the fact that a holistic approach was required, and we felt the need that this client group particularly had for intensive support to get them back into employment. Another point that we found was when we were developing our PPO project, that Home Office research kind of suggested that most of the people working with this client group felt that employment was a significant part of stopping reoffending, but only 5% of the projects that were currently running had specialised employment support.
The reason I would say Action Acton is better than other places I've been to, personally, is that they seem to have more time to be able to dedicate to each individual. Certainly myself, I've found that Nikki's been able to do a lot more than just the standard CV and job search with me. She's been able to give me a lot of advice and just sit there and discuss ideas and options with me.
All our offender projects feed into the other work that Action Acton does. So one of the main things that we've found is that because they run alongside our mainstream job brokerage projects, that we create an environment where people aren't seen as an offender and they can kind of integrate into that. The other factor is that we have advisors working on various different projects who might specialise in different areas. For example, it might be construction, or someone might be particularly good at benefits, and then they'll benefit from that person's experience in those areas. And then there's also the obvious fact that we have that all our services are open to all the offenders, so that could be literacy and numeracy whilst they're job searching. We have an Acton Market project which helps people set up their own market stalls. There's volunteering services, so there's a range of other services that they can access through Action Acton. I think this is kind of one of Action Acton's strengths, is that we've kind of maintained that then actually finding the employment is only half the battle, so we do offer quite a lot of in-work support. We can liaise with employers on their behalf in order to make it kind of sustainable. It completely varies on the level of support that an offender requires, but we do see people coming back to us when their circumstances change, or maybe they've got some issue that we can help them resolve, and we've found that this has been quite successful in stopping people reoffending.
Commissioners and government generally should start first with local organisations as the answer. And the reason is that people are not numbers, they're not statistics. They have complex, multifaceted lives, and they're operating in a complicated world. And the thing about local community organisations, large and small, is that they can get to know people as individuals. And large corporates can't do that. They can get to know people as individuals, and they know their community inside out. You bring those two things together, you have a chance of really changing things.
Long term, I really want to be a social worker. I'm kind of almost getting to that point now where I think that I'm going to be able to kick that off. The short-term plans are, I've recently through Action Acton again, been put onto another organisation. They're going to pay for my driving lessons and my driving test in exchange for 80 hours of voluntary work, taking meals to homeless people and vulnerable people, which is another thing that's going to be good for me, because to get onto the social worker degree you have to have 6 months of voluntary work. I'm going to be applying this month to go to college to do the Access to Social Work course, which will hopefully start in September. So basically things are starting to come together now. Hopefully 2010 will be good for me.
In 5 years' time, I'd like to see Action Acton have its own premises in the community, because in terms of sustainability and security, in terms of our presence in the community, it's important that we actually have premises that we know are sustainable. We'd like to expand the work we're doing in terms of helping people get jobs, education, training and self-employment, and we'd like to expand our work with adult and young offenders. I'd like to see Action Acton being the community anchor for Acton.